Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss about child abuse and neglect. These are the content which includes introduction, objectives of learning child abuse and neglect, historical background, definitions, prevalence, and about child abuse. As said by Nelson Mandela, the true character of a society is revealed in how it treats its children. So the question arises is that is our society good and safe for the children and for us? Childhood should be carefree, but for some children, it is just a dream. We all must have seen these headlines in the newspaper someday or the other. The child abuse is a sinful activity that occurs globally under the envelope of secrecy, especially where the children are accompanied. And children facing the problem like child abuse and neglect is increasing social problem. And being periodontist, we should be able to diagnose, report, and often manage such children. So today we will like to discuss about child abuse and neglect. The child neglect and abuse dates back to 753 BC. So I would like to start by narrating a story of Romulus and Remus, who were the twin brothers of the god of Greece, Mars, who was the god of war. They were orphaned and abandoned when their mother was imprisoned, and then they were casted into the river. They were found by a wolf, who then raised them up, and until they were found by a shepherd. Later, when they grew up, because they were being neglected from the childhood, and they had no parents, and they must have seen some child abuse in their childhood. When they grew up, they decided to make a city. Then in the place where the wolf found them. But they both had a fight about discussing the name of the city and the place where it should be built. And therefore, Remus was killed by Romulus, and therefore the city then was named as Rome. Child is an important part of the family, which is a modern concept these days. But throughout the history, the children were considered as parental property. In the Greco-Roman society, they have sanctioned the infanticide, and the infants with the disabilities were killed either in the womb or soon after their birth, because they believed that the welfare of the state was above the welfare of the individual. During the Industrial Revolution, the child labor was promoted and the children were asked to work for long hours in the industry. Only until in the 19th century, when the laws for protection and welfare of the children were passed, there were more safer society for the children. Now, the objectives of learning these for us, it could be for identification of the types of abuse, describing the signs of abuse and neglect, dental neglect, the importance of reporting the abuse, and the role of the dentist and the pedodontist in reporting and identification of child abuse and neglect, and the management of these children. Coming to the historical background of these, in 1874, the first case was reported and documented. That was the case of Mary Ellen. And in 1946, CAFE described the features of child abuse and child neglect. In 1962, the battered child syndrome was described by Henry Campe, and then Henry Campe and Helfer later conducted the studies on the child abuse and neglect till 1972. And in 1974, the Law for Child Abuse Prevention and Treatment Act was passed, and the National Center on the Child Abuse and Neglect was formed. Later in 1960, the contribution of the dentist to the recognition of child abuse and child neglect was seen. Coming to the definitions, child abuse as defined by Gill in 1968, it is a non-accidental physical injury, minimal or fatal, inflicted upon the child by the persons caring for them. It is an overt act of commission of a caretaker, physical, emotion, or sexual. The child abuse and neglect encompasses a variety of experiences that are threatening to or harmful to the children and are the result of acts of commission or omission on the part of a responsible caretaker, as described by McDonald. As given in Priya Verma, child abuse may be defined as physical, mental, medical, emotional, social, educational, or developmental act done either by a parent or a caregiver endangering a child's personality. Child Welfare Act defined it as the physical or mental injury, sexual abuse or exploitation, negligent treatment or maltreatment of a children under the age of 18 by a person who is responsible for the child's welfare under circumstances which indicate the child's health or welfare is harmed or threatened. WHO in 1999 described child abuse as it constitutes all the forms of physical and or emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect or negligent treatment or commercial or other exploitation resulting in the actual or potential harm to the children's health, survival, development or dignity in the context of the relationship of responsibility, trust or power. Now, the definition of battered baby, it is a child who shows clinical or radiographical evidence of lesions. Neglected child, it is the one who shows evidence of physical or mental health primarily due to the failure on the part of parent or caretakers to provide the adequately for the child's need. Persecuted child is the one who shows evidence of mental ill health caused by a deliberate infliction of physical or physiological injury that is often continuous in nature. Sexual abuse is defined as it includes contacts or interactions between a child and an adult when the child is being used for sexual stimulation of the perpetrator or the another person. Dental neglect, it is the failure by a parent or a guardian to seek the treatment for visually untreated caries, oral infection and or oral pain, or failure of the parent or the guardian to follow through the treatment once informed that the earlier condition exists. As described in AAPD guidelines in 2019, it could be defined as the willful failure of a parent or guardian to seek and follow through with the treatment necessary to ensure a level of oral health essential for adequate function and freedom from pain and infection. This definition was given by Child Abuse Subcommittee of the Clinical Affairs Committee and it was adopted in 1983. Child trafficking, it is one of the most important dimensions of the child abuse and neglect of the missing children in the country, as the children are taken from one country to the other country for their exploitation. The forensic odontology, as defined by Peterson in 1969, it is defined as the branch of odontology which deals with the proper handling and examination of the dental evidence, and with the proper examination and evaluation, the presentation of a dental findings in the interest of justice. Coming to the prevalence of child abuse and neglect, as given by WHO in 2017, it is seen nearly in 3 or 4 children or 300 million children aged 2 to 4 years who regularly suffer physical punishment or psychological violence at the hands of parents or the caregivers. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 13 men have been reported to have been sexually abused as a child in the age of 0 to 17 years. 120 million girls and young women under the age of 20 have suffered from some kind of sexual abuse. The consequences of child maltreatment include the impaired lifelong physical and mental health and the social and occupational outcomes also. A child who is abused is more likely to abuse others as an adult and may be violent in nature. Preventing the child for maltreatment before it starts is possible, and it requires multi-sectorial approach. The data given by Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India in 2007, statewide percentage of the sexual assault in the children, it is seen highest in the Delhi. And according to the data given by POSCO in 2017, the highest rate of child abuse is seen in Uttar Pradesh, followed by Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and Gujarat. The prevalence of child abuse in a school environment in Kerala, in India, it is a survey by Kumar MT et al. In 2017, and the prevalence of physical abuse was seen to be 75 to 78%, emotional 85%, and sexual to be 21 to 23%. It was more reported in males than females, and various factors significantly increase the likelihood of abuse by the male gender, low socioeconomic status, regular use of alcohols and drugs by the family members, and having other difficulties at the school. The children tended to report abuse less frequently if they were attending the school and if they felt that school was a safer place. A meta-analysis on the prevalence of child sexual abuse disclosure in the forensic setting by Azzopardi et al. In 2019, the mean prevalence of the child sexual abuse disclosure in the forensic settings was 64%, and this study concluded that there was an upward trend in the child sexual abuse disclosure prevalence, and more than 1/3 of the child who do not disclose when interviewed were the ones who were younger, male, and without a prior disclosure at a greater risk. Now, starting with child abuse. The characteristic of the child who have been abused, when all forms of the child abuse are considered, the male to female ratio is almost equal. The child may be unduly afraid or passive child. Evidence of the prolonged confinement, like delay in speech, could be seen, and they may be afraid to speak, or stammering could be seen in such children. Repeated skin or other injuries which may not be caused by trauma could be seen in these children. They may be undernourished, poor overall care could be there, cranky, irritable children, or the children may start crying easily as they are more afraid. And when the child is physically abused, they may be more aggressive. And the characteristics of the abuser or the parent or the caregiver, they can occur in any religion, occupation, socioeconomic status, or the ethnic group, but higher incidence is seen in the minority and the families with low socioeconomic status. This was given in the studies by Brown, Cohen, Johnson, and Selzinger in 1998, and also by Smith et al. In 2009. And in this condition, one parent is seen as the active batterer, and the other parent may be passive, and therefore they might approve this condition. The parents may have a history of abuse for themselves also. The parents may have poor self-esteem, violent temper or outburst, overly critical behavior towards the child, embarrassing when discussing the child's trauma, and avoidance of the looking at or touching the child. The types of child abuse could be physical abuse, sexual abuse, failure to thrive, intentional drugging or poisoning, Munchausen syndrome by proxy, healthcare neglect, dental neglect, safety neglect, emotional abuse and neglect, or the physical neglect. As described in McDonald, the types of abuse could be physical abuse, which is non-accidental injury or trauma to the body of a child by a parent or a caregiver. Sexual abuse, which is the activity with a minor or the exploitation of a minor by an adult for sexual pleasure. Neglect, it occurs when an adult knowingly permits a child to endure pain or suffering or fails to provide the basic needs for the proper development. And emotional, that impedes the child development and self-esteem by constant criticizing the child for their failures. The various types as described in Nikhil Marwa could be physically abusing the child or verbally abusing the child, teasing the child, touching the child when they do not want, breaking their self-confidence, hurting them, manipulating the child. It could be also using them as servants, that is child labor, not listening to their emotional needs, physical needs, or the medical needs. Starting with physical abuse, it is defined as a non-accidental inflicted physical injury that occurs as a result of harming a child by a parent, caregiver, or other person who has the responsibility for the child. According to WHO, it results in the potential harm from an interaction and lack of interaction, which is reasonable within the control of parent or a person in the position of responsibility, power, and trust. It is the most visible form of the abuse, and approximately 50% results in the facial and the head injuries, and therefore they could be recognized by the dentist. The forms of the physical abuse could be female infanticide, battering of the child, murder of the child, branding or body piercing, child labor, or abandonment of the child. There is a syndrome named as battered child syndrome, which is a severe form of physical abuse, and it defines as a collection of injuries sustained by a child as a result of repeated mistreatment or beating. This was first described by 1962, and he published the battered child syndrome, which was the first publication for child abuse and neglect. And the impact of the publication was such that there were laws passed for the saving of the child in between 1962 to 1968. Bruises, laceration, burns, and fractures are seen in this syndrome, and careful recording of history should be done by the caretaker. This is a case report of a 4-year-old Nigerian boy with a battered child syndrome by Ibrahim et al. This was a 4-year boy who reported to the emergency pediatric unit with the complaint of swelling in the forehead. And here in the figure 1, we can see the swellings, bruises, darkish discoloration on the lower parts of the eyes, and burns on the shoulder. And in this figure, we could see the signs of the tying of the child with the rope. The radiographs show that chest radiographs show that there is a right clavicular fracture, and in the CT scan, the frontal hematoma, scalp hematoma is seen, which is indicated by the arrows here. And this case report highlighted the threats of abuse a child faces as he or she grows in a developing country like Nigeria, where unfortunately most of them go unnoticed and unreported. Now coming to the history, while taking the history of these children, various types of diagnosis could be done with the help of the history, like with the eyewitness history. The child or the parent who have seen the act being happened could give a history. An unexplained injury, the parent may describe an unexplained injury which could not be due to trauma. In implausible history, the parent may give an vague response for the occurrence of the trauma that could not be related to the common sense. And elite self-inflicted history. In small children, they could not cause the self-inflicted bruises, and therefore it could be related to child abuse and neglect. There could be a delay in seeking the medical care in such children. The indicators of physical child abuse: if a child shows multiple signs of trauma, unexplained burns, bites, bruises, broken bones, or the black eyes. The bruises or the trauma are associated with the face, neck, and the genitals. The stick can result in the vertical marks or the linear bruises. The slap may leave a finger outline on the face. The fading bruises or the other marks can be noticeable after a long absence from the school, and the fracture of hands and arms are commonly seen. The symmetrical burns are also of concern as the accidental burns rarely occurs bilaterally. The child seems to be frightened in front of the parents and they may protest or cry when they are asked to go home. They may shrink at the approach of other adults, and the reports injury given by a parent or the other caregivers. Suspect of physical abuse if the child injuries are unexplainable, unconvincing, and unfathomable as per the parent's explanation. The child attitude is expressed in a negative way by the parent, harsh physical punishment by the parents, or the history of child abuse. The bruises in the physical abuse could be inflicted bruises which have a typical site and they are recognized in a recognizable pattern. They could be accidental bruises which are similar to the grab marks and they mostly lie over the bony prominences. Unusual bruises, which could be seen in the ethnic practices. For example, in the Vietnam, they have a practice known as hao zo, which is scraping of the skin to produce the light peteke. And these bruises are symmetrical and linear because of the rubbing of the coins. There could be pseudo bruises like the Mongolian spot or the birthmarks, which could be seen in person, or the allergic periorbital discoloration, which may appear as an abusive mark, but they should be differentiated from the abusive marks. The typical sites for the inflicted bruises could be the buttocks and the lower back having the marks due to patting, in the genitals or the inner thighs, in the cheeks due to the slap marks, the earlobes having the pinch marks, and the upper lip and the frenum having the force feeding marks, and the neck having the choke marks. The variable which affects the bruises could be the vascularity of the tissue injured. They are more pronounced around the eyes or the softer tissues than the palms or the soles. The age of the children, the younger children tend to have more bruises because of the delicate and the loose skin. The rate of occurrence is more in women as compared to the men. And the children having medications like aspirin may have increased bleeding tendencies. The normal skin color, if the child is fair in skin, having fair skin tone, the occurrence of the bruises may be more prominent as compared to a darker tone child. The mass and velocity of the impact and the time of the injury. Now, dating of the bruises. When the bruises are 0 to 2 days old, they may be swollen and tender. 0 to 5 days old may have red, blue, or purple discoloration, as we could see in the figure here. 5 to 7 days, it could be green in color. 7 to 10 days, yellowish discoloration, and 10 to 14 days, brownish discoloration. And in the 2 to 4 weeks, the child may have a cleared skin. Various types of marks seen in the physical abuse. It could be human hand marks due to the fingerprints or the fingernails. The strap marks due to the beating of the child with the help of belts. The lash marks, which could be the narrow, straight-edged bruises by thrashing with the tree branches or the switches. The loop marks, which are secondary to being struck with the rope or the belt. The bizarre marks, which could be due to inflicted when the child is beaten with a blunt instrument. The circumferential tie marks, which are seen when the child is tied with the help of a rope very tightly. The gag marks, which are seen due to the continuous screaming or yelling of the child at the corner of the mouth. Now, the guidelines for the physical discipline techniques. The parents or the caretakers should only utilize the hand for teaching the child the discipline. They should only be struck. Slapping is inappropriate at any age, and one strike is hard enough to change the behavior of the child. The infant should not be vigorously shaken. Striking is inappropriate before a child has learned to even walk should not be advised. The physical punishment should not be used for aggressive misbehavior as it may lead for the child being more aggressive. Starting with emotional abuse. Emotional abuse, as a quote by Reeves, emotional abuse is just as bad as physical abuse and even worse. You can heal the broken bones. You cannot heal a broken mind. As defined by Muthu, it is a systematic tearing down of another human being. Priya Verma defined it as the continuous emotional maltreatment of a children that hampers the child's emotional development. And according to McDonald, a pattern of behavior that impairs a child's emotional development or sense of self-worth, which may include the constant criticism, threats, or rejection, as well as withholding of the love, support, or guidance. It is the least understood type of child abuse and yet the most prevalent one. It could be the most cruel and most destructive one as it is not clearly understood by the people, and it attacks the child's psyche and the self-concept. It may have a long-term deteriorating effects on the child's personality. It may range from making fun of the child normally to frightening and isolating the child. And it has always been a part of some or the other kind of abuse and neglect, like physical abuse or the sexual abuse. The types of emotional abuse, according to Barlow and Macmillan in 2010, it could be active or passive. Active includes rejecting, corrupting, isolating, and terrorizing. And passive includes emotional unavailability, negative attitudes, inappropriate interaction, failure to recognize the child's individuality, and failure to promote the social adaptation of the child. Starting with rejecting, the parents lack the ability to bond with the child. They tell the child may be unwanted or worthless, and therefore the child becomes a family scapegoat. That he starts blaming himself for every problem occurring in the family. Ignoring, the parents are unable to respond to the child's emotional needs, and they show no attachment to the child. Terrorizing. In this, the single out one child to criticize and punish in front of the other sibling, more expectations than the child's ability, and they ask the children to do more according to the age of the patient. They threaten the child to death, mutilation, and abutment if the instructions which are given by the parents are not done. Isolating, it abuses the children through the parents abuses the children through isolation. They are not allowed to engage in play activities with the peers. They are kept in their rooms and prevent from participating in the extracurricular activities. Corrupting, the parents permit the use of drug or alcohol with the children, watch cruel behavior towards the animal, and witness and participate in the criminal activity along with their parents. The signs of the emotional abuse could be: the child showcases extreme behavior as being extremely obedient or compliant, extremely aggressive or demanding, either too materialistic beyond their age, such as taking care of the older children, or extremely infantile. They have delayed emotional and physical development, and they might also have suicidal tendencies. There is lack of emotional attachment with the parents. The suspect of emotional abuse when a parent is not concerned about the child, constantly humiliates or demeans the child, rejects the child, refuses to emotionally support the child, or lack empathy towards the child. It is very difficult to diagnose because there is lack of evidence for social emotional abuse, and sometimes there are no signs of abuse which may be noted. But later on, it may manifest as poor self-esteem, alcohol or drug abuse when the child is grown up. Coming to sexual abuse, it is the gravest form of the abuse where most of the children are bearing it silently and suffering their entire life due to the emotional and mental trauma on their minds. It is difficult for most people to talk about and for the whole society to accept it. It has increased dramatically over the last decade, and the factors for the underreporting of the cases, as described by Casamassimo in 1986, could be cultural morals, that the victim may be considered as the cause for the event by the society, fear, lack of awareness or lack of the language skills by the children, hidden with no visible physical manifestations. The health professionals may be unaware about these. The health professional who may be aware, but they may not report the sexual abuse because of the fear of the error, reprisal, or loss of the patients. The verification of the sexual abuse by the physical examination may be beyond the legal extent. The forms could be child prostitution, child pornography, and sex tourism. The indicators could be: the child is having difficulty in walking or sitting, reluctant to expose their body over the clothes to hide their scars. They may have wear full sleeve clothes even in the summers. They report the parents may report nightmares or the bedwetting, experiences a sudden change in the appetite. They demonstrate bizarre, sophisticated, or unusual sexual knowledge or behavior not appropriate for their age. The young girls may become pregnant, or the child may contract venereal diseases. They may run away from the adults. The reports sexual abuse by a parent or another adult caregiver. Suspect a sexual abuse when the parent is overprotective about the child, limits his contact with the other people, especially the opposite sex, is jealous of the other people interacting with the child, and secretive about the child. The awareness and attitudes of the primary school children, mothers of primary school children towards the child sexual abuse in Tamil Nadu, India, by Shirley et al. In 2018. The results have shown that only 12.9% mothers were aware of the POSCO Act, and 32.8% were aware about the child helpline number, that is 1098. 77% were unaware of the unexplained genital injury as a physical indicator of the child sexual abuse. A traumatic response and regression in behavior were commonly aware behavior indicators of the child sexual abuse, and only 25% of the mother believed that the boys could be sexually abused. 75% of the mothers believed that the offenders were usually the unknown people. 88% of the mother believed that that accompanied children were at a higher risk. 88% of the mothers believed that the physical and mental disability in the children was a risk factor for the child abuse. Majority of the mother believed that The streets and the institutions were the common environment for this. Only 23% of the mothers taught their child regarding the good touch and the bad touch. 50% of the mothers believe that they have a major role in preventing the child abuse is by the parents, and therefore this study concluded that awareness regarding the child sexual abuse was low among the mothers of the primary school children. Now, another article about preventing the child sexual abuse, a systematic review of interventions and their efficacy in developing countries by Russell et al. They concluded that if the focus on school-based strategies to prevent the child sexual abuse continues in the developing countries, a significant gap in the knowledge of the efficacy of a population-level intervention outside the school context and the consistency across the application of the interventions will remain, and evaluations are needed that address the efficacy of broader government-led or whole of community prevention interventions to reduce the actual prevalence of the child abuse. The prevalence of the oral injuries in the case of child abuse, the physical abuse which was more prevalent than the sexual abuse and the neglect in the USA. 37% of the physical abuse cases presented with the orofacial injuries, that is injuries in the head, face, oral cavity and the neck. The physical abuse alone has reached about 75.5%. According to American Board of Periodontics in 1979, the majority of the dental injuries were the fracture of the teeth, bruises on the oral tissue, laceration of the oral tissue, dentoalveolar fractures, burns of the oral tissues. The bite mark injuries are always thought to be intentional and can play a major role in identifying the abuser. The dentist having sufficient knowledge can play a vital role in identifying the assailant, as bite marks are good indicators of the genuine child abuse. The reporting of the child abuse by the dental profession is very low, despite the prevalent child abuse and high number of orofacial injuries with the victim. And there have been several articles which have documented the evidence of the cutaneous bite marks in the patient subjected to child abuse. Now, there is an article by Needleman about orofacial trauma in the child abuse types, prevalences, management, and the dental profession's involvement. And this study demonstrated that trauma to the head and associated area occurs approximately in the 50% of the cases. Soft tissue injuries are more frequently bruises, which are commonly seen in the head and the face. And injuries to the upper lip and maxilla and the labial frenum may be characteristic lesions in the severely abused young children. These are the various injuries which were described in the study, which may include the fractures, subdural hematoma, abrasion lacerations, contusions, burns, bites, and the dental traumas. And they also saw that the reporting of the cases were very low in the dental setting, whereas the overall awareness and among the dentists and the cases seen by the dentist were more. The surveys of the dental profession in this study concluded that the dentists do see that suspicious cases of the child abuse and often fail to report their suspicious as it is legally required. They do not have adequate training or knowledge of the child abuse and neglect, and they report more cases if made aware of the child abuse and neglect and their responsibility to report. The oral and dental aspects of the child abuse and neglect are described in American Academy of Pediatrics and also given in APD guidelines. Naidu in 2000 cited that the lips are the most common site for the inflicted oral injuries seen in the 54% cases, followed by oral mucosa, teeth, gingiva, and the tongue. The lacerations through the oral frena in the premobile infants as a sign of physical abuse is reported by Magyar S. et al. In 2008. And trauma to the teeth may lead to pulpal necrosis, leaving the teeth gray or discolored, as described by Kittle P. et al. In 1981. The dentist's perceptions, attitudes, knowledge, and experience about the child abuse and neglect in the Northeast Italy by S. Mania et al. The results, which are consistent with the other studies, show that there is a general lack of the knowledge about child abuse and neglect that prevents the dentist from detecting and identifying the suspected case. And despite its frequent occurrence among the dental patients, the neglect is least known and identified type of abuse, and the education is the critical element in enhancing the ability of the professional to detect these cases. Now, I would like to conclude by saying we make a living by what we give, but we make a life by what we give, as said by Churchill. So, try and give a smile back to an abused child. Thank you.